Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Tips and Tricks series. Today we're going to go over a workflow that involves project profiles and therefore the automated triggering of projects. So this workflow will essentially start at an intake form where we will onboard a prospect or a client, bring them into a start page where we will then present them with a second form for data collection. And we'll use that form to not only collect the data, but also to trigger the next actions. And one of those actions will be the auto-generation of a project. So of course, this workflow might not be perfectly in sync with your workflow, but by watching this, you'll get some ideas and very likely you'll be able to take away some value and maybe set up something similar. So with that introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So first, let's talk about what is a project profile. So if you go to the help documentation, you'll be able to read project profiles are used whenever you need to auto-generate a project, and that's essentially it. We're going to pre-create a project with customized variables and settings. We're going to tell the platform everything it needs to know about this project, and the only thing that it doesn't know is which client do I need to generate this for. And that way we can take that project profile, set it up in an automation, and then when the automation passes that piece of data, which is, okay, here's the client, auto-generate the project for this client, then everything gets auto-generated and all the variables that are usually filled in when you're creating a project from scratch are already known and therefore can be used to auto-generate that project. Okay, so with that in mind, we're here back at project profiles, and let's go ahead and set up a project profile. Okay, and we're going to use the example of a book cover designer today. So let's just say this is going to be book cover design. Okay, and that's the type of project this is. And that's the name of our project profile, and we'll reference it by this name. Now, down here, this is the name that will be given to the project when it's auto-generated, and that's why we have these placeholders. So let me build a project name here, and then I'll explain. Okay, so we've chosen book cover design, and here now, though, I'm using placeholders because remember, we're going to auto-generate projects from this profile over and over again as part of an automation. So this is going to be used many times with many different clients. So the idea would be, and we'll use Ron Howard as an example, book cover design, Ron Howard 2020 will be the generated name of this project. And that'll keep us from auto-generating project names that are the same every time. And now we're going to scroll down and we're going to start to look at what do we want the outcome to be when this project is auto-generated. Let's keep the initial status as pending. You could make it another status, and these statuses can be customized. And you would do that from here and clicking categories, and that would take you to a view where you could choose project status and customize these statuses. But for now, pending will be fine. Then we'll say what would be the relative estimated completion date. And what does this mean? This means that on the day that the project is generated in the automation, I'm going to say that we'll be able to finish this book cover design in 30 days from that date. So if the project is generated on January 1st, we're going to have an estimated completion date of January 31st. And then a target time, if that's applicable, probably not. Down here, we can insert descriptions of the project. We can insert standard information that you normally would show to your staff, for example, related to a project of this type. Also here, this is for the client side. The client will see this. We can put standard information related to this type of project for the client to see when he is viewing the project. And remember also that we can include placeholders. Okay, so let's explain what we've done here. So this is the project description that will show to your staff. The client does not see this. And on the staff side, you're going to be showing some data about the project. In this case, the author name will be filled in dynamically, the author email, and account balance, whatever that means in this case. But this is all just to show you what is possible here, and this is where you would complete this information for your staff side, okay, and that's all described here. Now, on the client side, this information only shows to the client, and so we'll say, hi there, client first name, some message. We can even include more data placeholders here if we have them all prepared. Let's go ahead and continue with the process, and maybe we'll come back here and add a few more as the process starts to take shape. Okay, scrolling down a little further, let's go ahead and assign our teammates. So for this one, I'm just going to assign Ron, and also let's assign Zidane, and then the project leader will be Ron, and then we can go on down. And now here, the project template. Now what we're designing here in the profile are the details of the project. We're setting the details ahead of time. We're pre-configuring the details. A project template, on the other hand, is designed to configure the tasks and phases that are a part of that project. So this lets us mix and match project profiles, meaning the details of a project, and the actual tasks and phases that are part of that project. And there's a lot of flexibility in that, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. So scrolling down, we have the project economics. Business sector, this is customizable. We're just going to put movie consulting here because that's what exists. Maybe we can change that later if we have time. And then we'll say this is a $1,000 project in US dollars. We can also set the estimated time spent as required. Let's not set that now. We can cover that in another video. Let's go ahead and just click create. Okay, so we have our project profile created. Here it is, book cover design, and it's ready to be used in an automation. Before we go any further though, let's go ahead and break down how this automation is planned and visually understand what is needed, and then we'll take it step by step, build each piece, and in the end we'll put it all together. Remember that we're building an entire workflow that's an automation that will serve you over and over and over again. So it's not something that can be built in a few minutes, and it's something that you will continually tweak over time. But go ahead and stick with us. We'll take it step by step, and in the end you can build something that can really make a difference in your business. Okay, let's start here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an intake form that you're going to embed on your website, okay? On your website, you're going to direct people who are interested in custom book cover designs to this page. They're going to complete the form. We're going to configure that form to automatically assign them to a circle. We'll need to create this circle, and the job of this circle is to sort them into that type of client, which means we want to direct the rest of their automation in a specific way. So we're going to create a circle called book cover design or something like that, and then use the intake form to assign these contacts to that circle. So when the contact completes the form, they'll be sent their welcome email. They'll receive the email. In that email, they'll click a link, they'll set their password, and they'll be directed to their assigned start page. We will need to create this start page. We will direct them to the assigned start page using this circle. The admin will get a notification that the contact has entered the portal. The client will then be redirected to their start page. Okay, they're now at their start page. On their start page, we're going to show what's called a CRM update form. That form will allow us to collect more information, and then we can use that form to trigger the project profile that we just built, and that will mean that the project will be created and any tasks that are inside that project will be assigned. Those tasks will come from a project template. We haven't done that part yet, but that's easy to add in after this automation is built. So let's get started. We're going to need a few things to get started. The first thing we can build is the circle. Then we'll build the intake form. We'll configure the intake form properly. We'll build a portal page and assign that as a start page to the circle. And then we'll build an update form as shown down here and embed that on the portal page, making sure that we configure this update form that when it's submitted, it will create a project profile, and boom, there you go. Okay, let's begin. All right, here we are in circles. I've gone to CRM circles, and now let's create that circle. Add circle, book, cover, design. We don't need a description. We don't need to assign users. We can pick some random color that just defines the color of the circles and could be useful to you. And then we're just going to click add. Okay, we have our circle, book cover design. Now let's go to intake forms. Okay, here we are in forms. I can just click here or I can choose here. I want to create an intake form. So let's go to intake form. Okay, so this is an intake form we're building. This means we're trying to add a new user who's not in our account. And typically these forms are embedded on a website or they're accessed via a funnel page with a custom slug. In this case, we're going to embed on a website. Let's go ahead and change the name of this form to book cover design. These are the default fields. We'll add a few custom fields in a second. Before I do that, I just want to show down here is where we set the form actions. Okay, the form actions means that every person that submits this form will have these actions applied. In this case, we're going to set the role as client because we are actively going to be doing business with these particular contacts from the website. The coordinator we can set as, let's say, Ron. We don't need to set a company, but we could if we wanted. But here's the important part. Let's assign the circle that we just created, book cover design. And it means that every person that fills this form out and completes it and submits it will be automatically assigned to this circle, and we're going to use that circle affiliation as a key component in this automation. Okay, let's scroll down. We don't want to do anything else. We could trigger the project profile here. However, we don't want to trigger the profile immediately because that would set the project in motion. What we will do is get this person onboarded, we'll bring them into the portal, present them with information, we'll collect a little more information for them, and we'll make them complete that second form, and that will act as the trigger for the project, and then the project will be generated and started. And you'll see what I mean as we go further. Okay, we're going to scroll on down and past these options. Although they're great options, they're not part of this workflow. Here we're going to say send email with submission info to coordinator when the contact registers. So that will be the person you set here. In this case, that is the super admin. Usually you would set this to yourself so you know. And then we are going to send the welcome email automatically. Okay, so we've set all the settings. Let's just scroll down now and we'll just save these settings and then we'll continue on. Okay, we're back in the intake form. And I've taken the liberty of adding 2 custom fields to the form, book title and book genre. And of course, we'll need more information than this on a practical level, but remember that we're trying to keep the friction low on the intake form so that they are tempted to complete the form. Then we draw them further into our process by sending them that welcome email, as we said here, and we'll get them to enter the portal and then redirect them to a start page where they will complete another form. All right, so now let's look at how we will embed this form in our website. Let's go to Link Embed. And when we navigate here, we're going to find that there is a direct link to the form, which you can load in another browser. Be sure that you do that in an incognito browser, not the same browser as you are operating in as the admin. And we'll also see an embed code, and this is what we'll need. And I've taken the liberty of going ahead here and custom designing this form, the width, the results, the get started text here, the redirect after submission, and some of the styling options. So it will work well within the website where we want to place it. And you can see the preview here. But let's go ahead and grab the embed code here. I'm just going to single click here. It's going to copy that directly to my clipboard. And now I'm going to go to the website and embed this code directly in the HTML of the page where I want it to show. All right, so here's the website page where I am displaying the intake form. This is just a page on a website where the embed code is pasted into the HTML, and when rendered in the browser, it will render this form directly from your account. And you can see here's the fields, everything is there, it matches your website. Now, when this form is completed by any visitor to your website, the actions of this form will be applied to that visitor, to that person. So the important ones here are that they'll be assigned as a client, their coordinator will be set to Ron Howard, but the most important is book cover design. They'll be added to this circle, and this circle is how we will set the start page. So let's work next on the start page. All right, then, to set up a start page, the first thing we need to do is create a new portal page, and then we will assign that portal page as the start page for the circle book cover design. And this means that every member of this circle will be redirected to that portal page, which is their start page, when they log in. Okay, so over here in Pages, we'll open this menu, we'll twirl down Portal Pages, and we'll click Add New Page. Okay, here on the portal page, we're going to assign this portal page to the circle. Okay, there you go. And then down here, we're going to set a menu group and a page title. Basically, this section will tell us where to show this page in the menu in the case that you don't specifically create a menu item using custom menus for this page. So without getting too much further into it than that, let's go ahead and just create a new menu group. And we'll call this something like Your Books. Okay, and then the page title will say Your Book Cover. And we'll just start there and see if we want to make any adjustments as we build the automation. And then down below, we're going to go ahead and just use Block Editor. Okay, and here was where we can start building the page. So we can build it a block at a time using the WYSIWYG editor. We can build new rows. We can separate these into columns by just using a 2-column or 3-column layout. So there's a lot of ways that you can build here, embed images, embed videos, but I'm just going to pause here, make some content that's applicable for what we need, and talk about how this works in the automation that we're building. All right, so we've added our content. And you'll see that we used a row here with 2 columns, and then down here another row with a single column. And then let's scroll down and just take a preview at what this will look like. Okay, so we're just going to welcome the client by their first name, which of course is dynamic because we'll be using this as a part of an automation. And then here we're just welcoming them to the page. We're explaining the process. And down here we make a header, some explanation text, a link to get in touch, and here is where we will place the second form, which is what we call a CRM update form. Update forms are designed to add new data or update data for prospects and clients who are already added in your account. So in this case, this will be a client. We set the role. They will receive their welcome email. They'll click the link, set their password, and then they will immediately be redirected to this page where they will be welcomed and then start in on the second part of the form. And this is the form that we're going to use to trigger the project profile that we created at the very beginning of this video. So our last piece that we need to build is this update form and insert it here on the portal page. Let's take a second before we leave here and just show this is what this page will look like in an iPad. Responsive, everything is looking nice. And all the way down to a very small mobile device. This will still work. This is a very small preview. But you can also use this preview to look at what this page might look like when that client arrives or when a sample client arrives. Let's choose this client and you'll see that their first name is inserted. And if we had other data placeholders here, that data would be inserted there as well. And you can just work through the different clients, make sure that it looks as you would like it to look, and get a real-time preview here. Now, one thing that you'll notice when we get there with the update form is that your update form will not actually preview here. You're just going to see the placeholder in the preview, but it will show when loaded naturally on the client view. And you can check that using Impersonate, but it won't show here on the preview, so don't be confused by that. Okay, so let's close the preview. We'll scroll down a little further. You are able to enable custom CSS and custom JavaScript here. And of course, there's other helpful options here. We're going to uncheck this, and I'll leave it to you to get familiar with these options. But the one I do want to point out and explain is do not show this page in the dynamic pages menu. And what that means is the menu group that we built here, your books, your book cover is the menu title. As I said, this is to help us build a menu that the client will see even if you don't build a custom menu or a custom menu item for this page. So each time a client logs in, we dynamically build a pages menu out of the pages that were assigned to them either right here or by circle affiliation. And what this setting at the bottom does is it hides this page from that dynamic menu. So in this case, I'm not going to show this page in the dynamic pages menu. I'm setting it as a start page, and therefore the user can always get back to it by clicking the logo in the portal. And also we can add a custom menu item for dashboard that will go directly to their start page. But again, these things will become more clear as we move on. So let's go ahead and just save this page. Okay, so now we've created a portal page called Your Book Cover. Here, Portal Pages, Managed Pages, that's where we are. We've populated that with content, but we need to now set this as the start page for our circle. So you can do that either here from Options, Assign Start Page, or we can go back inside the page and then use the interface here, Assign as Start Page. And now you'll notice that the only circle that shows up is Book Cover Design. And the reason is because Book Cover Design is the only circle given permission to view this page. So therefore, it makes sense that this is the only circle that shows here as an option to set this as their start page. All right, so I think that part is clear. Let's go ahead and click Save. All right, so now we have finished the step of creating a portal page. We have populated the portal page. We still need to insert the update form, but we'll do that here in a bit. We have assigned the start page to the circle that we created. And so now the next step is to create the update form that will then trigger the project profile. So now the next step is the update form, but let's check in with our diagram before we move any further so we can just hammer home exactly what's happening here. Okay, here we are back at our diagram of the workflow. We've created the intake form, we created a circle, we've set the intake form to automatically add anyone who completes the form to this circle. We set the welcome email to automatically send. We set up that the admin would be notified by enabling that coordinator setting. We created a portal page, set it as the start page for the circle. So when clients that are part of that circle log in, they're going to be redirected to the start page where we will show a CRM update form, which we will now create. And we will set up this CRM update form to trigger the project profile when it's submitted. And that will automatically and instantly create the project and then assign any tasks that are inside that project. And keep in mind that we have a whole host of options that we can trigger based on this update form. We're keeping it simple by only triggering this project profile, but you could also automatically add them to an email marketing list. Let's say you want to take a $100 deposit to start the project. You could instantly generate an invoice for that client for $100 and instantly deliver it as part of this automation as well. And that's sort of why we always keep the continue box here at the bottom, because these automations are really never done. We create them, we tweak them, we work with them and mold them to the business, get new ideas, add them in, etc. But for now, let's go ahead and move to the update form. Let's get that part done. We'll do a full walkthrough from the client side, show how everything is working, show the results from the admin side, and that shouldn't take too long. We're on the downhill stretch now. Okay, here we are back in the platform, and here is our portal page that we've created. And now we need to create a CRM update form that we will embed on this portal page. So let's go down to Forms, and then we'll load that and get started. All right, here we are back in Forms. And book cover design, this was our intake form that we embedded on the website. But now we're going to create a new type of form, and this will be called a CRM update form. And these forms allow us to update or add info to existing contacts. So understand that we use the intake form to add the contact to the CRM, and now we're using a different type of form to add more info to them. Okay, so let's go ahead and start, and it'll become a little more clear as we go. All right, here we are in Update Forms. Let's go ahead and just give this a title. Okay, now this is going to be called the book cover questionnaire, and here's where we will actually ask all the questions needed to get started on this project. Okay, so let's scroll down. Again, here is where we'll actually create the questions in the form, and then down here is where we'll set the form actions, and we'll do that starting here. Before we do that, we'll add some questions to the form, but one thing to notice here is you don't see first name, last name, email address like you did in the intake form. There are no required fields that are already added, and the reason is that anytime this form is completed, we will already know the user because they'll either be logged in or we will have specifically assigned a form to them. And that being the case, we already know who the user is. So in these forms, we're only adding new information to their profile or adjusting or editing existing information. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for just a sec, add some fields to this form so we can use them as examples. Then we'll take a look at the actions, so just one sec. All right, I've added these new custom fields, and of course these serve as questions in the form. So author name is the title of the custom field, and here is the title of the custom field, but of course the question is asked here. Author name exactly as you want it on the cover. It's a single line text area. All right. So now we have these in place, but if you'll remember in the original intake form, we also asked the book title and the genre. Here's the website, and here in this form, we asked this information. So we have this information already in the user's profile. So let's look back at the update form, and let's add in those two data fields, and then we'll pre-fill them with the data that we have, and I'll show you what this means. Okay, so there's the book title. Let's add that one. And then also the genre we used. Okay, there's the book genre. Let's add that one. Okay, and let's just go ahead and reorder these. Let's take book title up to the top and book genre. Those are the two that we asked for already. And now let's open these up and look at the option here for pre-fill value. We're going to go ahead and check this one. And notice here it says if blank will show existing data. So this means that when a client arrives at the second step, they're going to see the value that they already entered in the intake form for the book title. Same thing here for book genre. Let's enable pre-fill value. Okay, and we're just going to leave it blank. Now, if we wanted to display the same data to everyone, we could enter it here. But what we want is the value to be pulled out of the database, out of the profile for each author uniquely. And let's scroll down to the actions, okay? Now we're on actions. Let's go ahead and add here. We're going to add a trigger action automation. We're going to configure that, and here we see the available actions for this form, one of which is apply project profile. So let's go ahead and configure those actions. You are able to create action templates. We're not going to use that now. That's a saved configuration. But here what we'll do is apply project profile, and now we'll choose book cover design. This is what we designed at the very beginning of this video, and we're going to trigger that profile when this form is completed. So let's click save. Okay, so apply project profile is configured. We have our form fields here. We have named our form, so let's go ahead and click save. Okay, so here's our book cover questionnaire form. It's a CRM update form. And let's go to options and show how we can get the link embed code here. We're going to go to link embed. And right here is the placeholder. I'm going to grab that with one click. And we're going to embed that in the portal page, which is acting as our start page. And of course, before we do that, I'll customize this so it will look nice inside that portal page. And you can customize it using these settings. And there you go. So now the styling of the form, the embed settings, have been changed to look nice inside our portal page. And here we've given a success message when the form is submitted. And here we have linked using what we call placeholder links. And this placeholder link will redirect the client dynamically, depending on the client, to their project. And the default is that it will link to the most recent project, which in our case, of course, will be the project that is generated from this form. Okay, so let's save this. We have these settings. Let's go ahead and save them. And now the next step will be to embed this form on the start page. All right, now we're back on the start page, and start the drum roll, please, because this is the last thing we need to do before doing a full test run through the workflow as a new visitor to the website interested in book cover design. Okay, so let's scroll down. And now that we know how the workflow is going to go, I'm going to just go ahead and change this to your book cover project, step 1. And I think that'll make sense when we see it in action. If we scroll down a little further, remember we use this as a placeholder for where our form will go. So let's go in here and edit. Okay, let me remove this line. And now we're just going to paste in the form placeholder that we copied from the link embed view of that particular form. Okay, and we just want to hit enter here so that it just gets turned into a placeholder. And now we're going to click save. You see the placeholder here. Let's look at the preview. In the preview mode, you will not see the form displayed, only the form placeholder. So let's go ahead and close the preview, scroll down, click save, and now we are ready. Okay, here we go. It's time to walk through this entire automation. We are in an incognito browser, or some browsers will call it a private browser, but the point is it's a completely different browser than we were operating in as the admin. So to illustrate this, I'm on a login page at the account where we are and refresh here. We're definitely not logged in this browser. That's good. So now we'll go to the website where the intake form is, and we can go ahead and just fill this out as would a visitor to your website who's interested in book cover design. So let's just use a test user, and here we go. Okay, so we have our author, the world's best-selling author in history, Agatha Christie. So Agatha has given us the first name, last name, and then the book title and her book genre. and she's ready to get started with a book cover design. So now she's going to just click Get Started. Now the redirect that we programmed is going to happen, and she's redirected to the login page and given this message. An email was sent to her email address with further instructions, and that is exactly what we expected. Let's look at the email that was sent to Agatha, and we'll also look for that email that we wanted to be sent to the coordinator when anyone completes this form. Okay, so here's the email that gets sent to the coordinator, and it says new user is registered, and it also includes the answers given on the form, so this is good. Now Ron knows that someone has registered, sees a preview of the information. So again, this email is just a nice to know kind of email, like, okay, someone just completed my form and they're working themselves through the process. Let's look at the email sent to Agatha. Okay, so this was sent to Agatha Christie. You can see that here. And this email just includes the information that she'll need to get logged into the portal to take the next steps in the progression. And this is customizable, so if you need this email to say something different, or if you need to customize this language with more instructions, then that's completely doable. This is just the default. All right, so let's take the next step, and we're going to click to activate. So here goes Agatha clicking the link in her email. She arrives at what we call the registration page, where her information is already pre-filled, anything that we know, and then she only has to set her password, which of course is a big advantage because the user is much more likely to remember their password if they're able to set it on their own. Okay, so we have the password set, and we're going to click Save Password and log in, and we would expect that she would be logged in and redirected to our start page. Okay, and that's what happened. So now she sees her name. She sees Your Book Cover Project Step 1. She sees Welcome Agatha and all the content that we left for her. On the left side, she does see a menu here comprised of items that you can customize. Now, we haven't taken the steps to talk about how this can be customized, but you can see in other videos how this is done. And while we're here, let's talk about this Dynamic Pages menu. This is the menu that I'm referring to when I say Dynamic Pages menu. And if we would not have hidden this page, this start page, from this dynamic menu, we would see another menu item here called Your Books, and then beneath that, I think we called it Your Book Cover or something like that. So it's hidden from this menu, but this is the Dynamic Pages menu I was referring to. But here we are on the start page as Agatha, and now we read that we need to complete this book cover design questionnaire. So let's scroll down. Okay, now, here in the book title and the book genre, as we talked about, this was information that Agatha gave us on the intake form. And we set up this form so it would dynamically display and pull these data points out of the profile of the user. And in this case, of course, Agatha just told us these pieces of data. And so we pulled them out of the database and displayed them here for her. Now, it's important to realize that she does have the choice of changing these in case something was wrong here, she wants to adjust, and that's a good thing. Okay, so now we're going to continue down here. We're going to complete this form. Here we'll just say not applicable. And then maybe we'll just call it a riverboat on the Nile. Why not? But whatever you need this form to be, whatever you need it to say, this is that second step. And now remember that when we submit this questionnaire, we have configured that a project about this book assigned to this client will be auto-created, and they'll be redirected by a link to go to that project. So let's submit questionnaire and start project. Okay, so here is our message that we configured to show after the form was created. Here's that link using the placeholder links that you can read about in documentation, and we can click here to view your project, and we're immediately redirected to the project that was just auto-created. And here we are. Now, I'll point out here that this is the area for the project dashboard, which you can configure. The task tab, the Kanban tab, calendar, files, client talk. This is all customizable, but that's really for another video. But the point is that we did auto create a project. It is dynamically named after Agatha Christie, according to that project profile. And let's go look on the admin side and we'll start to see how this all came together. Okay, back on the admin side, I'm going to start back at the project profile. So remember, this is book cover design. This is our dynamic naming. We had these project descriptions that the client does not see. This is the staff side, and then this is the client side. So let's continue to look. We had assignees all set. We didn't set any tasks, so there won't be any tasks there, but we can go back in part 2 of this video and look at how that's done. And then the estimated value is set at $1,000. But now let's go look at projects and see what was created. Okay, here is our project. Book cover design, Agatha Christie 2020. It's assigned to Agatha Christie. This all happened by an automation. Remember that we set the initial status to pending, so this is all created just as we wanted. Let's go in and take a look. All right, so here's the project dashboard. Again, this is configurable. Let's look at the tasks. We know that there's not any there. But here, I'd like to point out that these are the placeholders that we set up in the project profile. And here's the email address of the author. And if there was an account balance in their data, it would be here. And this illustrates that you can use this project description area to display to your staff information about the project as a place to keep information and data about the project. This is a nice place for you to display information about the project in a way that's organized, and this shows on every one of the tabs except for dashboard. Now I'm back on the client side. I'm logged in as Agatha Christie. I'll go to the task tab. And here I can see the message that I wrote for the client side. So see here, hi there, this is a placeholder, Agatha, and then this data on the client side. So you can use this in whatever way you need. And again, you can use placeholders here that pull from the client's profile or the company profile of that client. Okay, and back quickly to the email notifications. This is an email notification that is sent to the configured staff members when a new user successfully confirms their account and logs into the portal. So now we've been notified not only that the form was completed, now we have been notified that the second step has been completed. And this is good information, of course, as it will help you understand where your customers are in the process and when you might want to touch base and follow up. Okay, so as a wrap up to this video, let's go through the flowchart one more time. We saw the intake form on the website. We saw Agatha complete the form. Agatha was automatically assigned to the circle. Agatha received the welcome email. Agatha clicked the link, set her password, and was directed to the assigned start page. Admin did get notified that the contact had entered their portal. She was redirected to the start page. From the start page, Agatha did see the update form, the CRM update form, complete with some of the data that was carried from the intake form, and Agatha completed the update form, which triggered the project profile, and that's where we are. The project profile was created. Now, in the second part of this video, we will go back through this automation, and we will start to add and look at additional levels of functionality and places where you can improve and smooth out the workflow and continue to refine as you go along. Again, these workflows do take time to put together and configure in the way that you need and will work for you. And each time you test and each time they're used by a real client, you'll start to see new ways that you can make improvements and you'll make that tweak. So it is an ongoing process, but you will see how it can save you so much time and make you more efficient in the way that you can focus on the work that makes you money, that makes you successful, instead of work that is repetitive and prone to mistakes, which is often the case when you're redoing busy work over and over again. One of the great things about automations is that they are accurate. They always produce the same result. And so that's just another reason why it's worth taking the time to understand how this works and build an automation. So thank you for sticking with me through this journey. This has been a marathon video, I get it, but the goal was to walk you through very slowly, step by step, how this automation can work. So if you made it this far, all the way to the end, your Sweet Dash game is strong and you're gonna do very well. All right, thanks, and we'll see you in part 2. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks.